and welcome to Frank's School, second year, 68th day. What I'm doing is I'm analyzing the movie Willow, bit by bit. You can watch it on Overimaginated. And yesterday I asked you to only go as far as the 7th minute, 30th second, if you could hold yourself back. Today, after I'm finished, I would ask you to go to, through that part, go to the second part, the 6 minute, 18th second, right at the point where Willow says, I must take the baby to the council. There I'd like you to stop. This is slow at the beginning, this is a little bit, and I remember my students complained, but we're analyzing this movie. This is not just to kick back and have a good time watching a movie. No, I mean, I was paid to teach the students at that time, and I was teaching them. Oh boy, here's my assistant, my wizard's apprentice. All right, some things to notice. There is the theme, can't pay the mortgage. I said I called Burgle Cut, the evil landlord. Well, I'm not actually sure if he owns the land, but he wants the land, and there's that worry about paying the mortgage. So many people can so relate to that theme. Debt is owed, and so that has been brought into it. Archetypes. Now, archetypes, they could maybe be called stock characters, but I think that that's not as dignified a name as archetype, and I don't think it's quite the same either. But in the process, I wanted to share with you something I remembered. Last night, I was watching the new Sherlock Holmes movie, and the woman in it that played the part of Dr. Watson's wife, I recognized the actress. And I thought, where have I seen that actress? And at first, I thought it was in a movie, an American movie, called Breakfast Club. And why I mention that is because then I remembered that a student that told me I should watch Breakfast Club, I think his name was Skylar, he said it's perfect for archetypes because you've got them all there. The cheerleader, the jock, the hood. In a high school, you've got all the archetypes there for Saturday school. And I remembered how he so understood archetypes, he felt. And I think he was right. I looked at the movie and that he was right. I think he's the same student that announced to me out of the blue that he knew of a classic, that he would guarantee would be a classic, even though it was new. And he said it's called American Pie. I took his word for it and I watched it, and the kids were horrified that I had watched American Pie. I thought that was funny. Incidentally, I agreed with Skylar that will become a classic. But I thought that was funny because you always hear about movies that you're not old enough to see the movie. My students felt that I was too old to see that movie. But anyway, that's beside the point. Archetypes. Here are some other ones. The Wizard's Apprentice, or the Sorcerer's Apprentice. You will see that the wizard or the magician is choosing an apprentice for this year. That's brought in. Remind you that George Lucas, I feel, gathered all these things that are bound to work into one plot. Magic incantation. When you do magic, you use words. Words have magic. I mean, that's sort of a subdivision of poetry in a way. That's there. Literary devices. Well, the disappearing pig trick, that is going to echo. You don't know that yet, but there will be an echo, and there is the literary device echo when something comes back around later on. So when the movie has you watch that, they're setting you up for something later. Now these, I just want you to notice these things, that there is a medieval setting here. Celtic is what I call it. You can so much see it in the fair. What was a fair like? You know, nowadays a fair has carnival rides and Ferris wheels and all that stuff. But in the old days, like, are you going to Scarborough Fair? Or in Portuguese, it was a feira. Where I lived in Brazil, they still had them, a fair. So you see the fair. Well, the costumes, they have a medieval Celtic look to them, and I think that was one award that this movie won, costumes. The fences. I was delighted to see those fences when I first saw that movie. In America, you just never see fences like that. I don't know if you do any more in Europe, maybe. But they're woven like baskets. And two things I would say about that: if you take a fence like that and put it inside a wall and put mud on it, now you've got what's called wattle and daub, a kind of architecture that will last hundreds of years if it's plastered over, and it looks like this wall. Well, better. All right, the fences. And another thing I would say, that one of the reasons you don't see them is that was a whole culture where the twigs, if you will, or the wattles that the fence is woven out of, they had to be grown for that purpose. I think the wood was hazel, English hazel. I think my mother at one point bought me some hazel to plant here on the farm, but I couldn't keep it going at the time. And you know, another thing I could say about the fences, when I watch a movie, I am looking at details. In some ways, it would drive my students crazy. I'd even pause and say, now look at that fence. And they would say, who cares? I want to watch the movie. But the details of the Tour d'Europe, you saw the same thing. I look at details. The way that those stakes must have been driven in and then with a bill hook cut off. Well, all right, the wild boar hunt. When those pig dogs, or whatever they are, charge, and finally it's killed by putting a spear in the ground and letting it charge onto the spear. That's the way wild boar were hunted in the Middle Ages, and that's been brought into the movie. And I guess finally I'll say that there is a pulse to the movie. I would like you to notice the pulse. You know, they'll talk about rising action. Well, it was very exciting when the pig dogs, if you will, chased the old woman. Then it calmed down. Then it got very exciting when they attacked into the village, and now it's calmed down again. You can't keep high dramatic action going steadily all the time. And you'll see that. It's often the chase keeps being revisited. All right, there's the phone, and that's a good time for me to stop. So enjoy. I'll see you next time.